is about ley lines. Does anybody know what that means or what it is? If not, then I will tell you. Duh, right? I'm really sounding professional now. I'm too tired to even look at my notes.
Tonight's show is brought to you by the flashlight. Never go investigating without one.
Yep. Okay. We're not starting off too well here.
Doesn't help that we just fell asleep for a half hour in the chairs.
Okay. We're talking about ley lines. Epic beard man. Epic beard. My beard, I need to trim it. I've been sick for the last week and a half, 10 days, and I haven't trimmed it. It needs to be trimmed down.
He's growing a beard so he could become the mall Santa.
Yeah, I want to be a mall Santa.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
No, not really. Anyway, the topic tonight is ley lines, or what they used to call the old straight tracks, or straight lines. In China, they call them the dragon paths. They're basically alignments of lines,
geometric type.
Well, no, well, they're geomagnetic lines that are invisible, but they run throughout the globe. Okay, they crisscross, but they're all in straight lines. And
I know them as magnetic interlocking
right. Well,
places where magnetic and Earth's atmosphere connect together in one.
They connect all the ancient sites together, and a lot
of
they
say they do.
Well, a lot of that's conjecture at the point.
Yeah.
But ley lines are very interesting for a number of reasons. I mean, supposedly they connect all the ancient monuments and megaliths and stuff like it. Stonehenge is actually aligned with the pyramid in Egypt and that sort of thing. And in olden times, the Romans who built their roads usually built them along the ley lines, and they would put up herms, what they call them, which are a pile of stones. And they're herms, which is named after Hermes because he was a god of travelers.
Yeah.
Anyway, the word ley line actually was coined by Alfred Watkins, who was out dowsing, and he noticed all kinds of activity, and he started mapping them.
Now, he was an amateur geologist, right?
Yeah, he was an amateur archaeologist.
Now, what does amateur mean? Does that mean he never went to school, or does that
he
mean
never had a degree, but he went out and did archaeology. No, okay. And if even as an amateur, if you get enough under your belt, you can get recognized by a school, or university, or something like that. But you have to get enough, and you have to be recognized.
Well, we're talking
publicly.
like me and you running around like.
Yeah, amateurs. We're amateurs. I'm an amateur photographer because I'm not.
Our friend Dr. Hampel, he likes to get into that stuff, but he's not. He has a doctorate degree in history.
Well, he called them ley lines simply because of the word ley, L-E-A, or L-E, or Lee, L-E-I-G-H. All these words are connected, which they mean is like a big meadow or something like that. And he would detect them along mostly open spaces, and all these different monuments and even churches, many churches, and usually over in Europe and England where they're very prevalent, and they discovered them, there. But the Chinese concept of feng shui works on the same principle. Now, they also believed in the ley lines, but they call them dragon paths, as I stated earlier. Okay, they're associated with spiritual and mystical theories, with landforms and stuff like that, which they believe. All ancient cultures, even our Native Americans, had names for them. They call them things. They believed they were a mystical network where you could actually transmit information across them from mind to mind, kind of like a psychic type thing. And it was more powerful along these ley lines. They follow lines of cosmic energy on the Earth, and they can be doused using dowsing rods or pendulums, if you know how to do that. I'm a little skeptic about some of the dowsing, but from what I understand, a lot of dowsers the ones who can do, they actually can find, I mean, they typically look for water, right? Okay.
Well, they're said to
How
have
do they,
magnetic principles
okay,
as well.
how do they detect lines, you mean? How do they detect them?
Or dosing rods.
Yeah, well, one way is with dowsing rods. You could use now
A Gauss meter, like our EMF meter.
Certain meters that would pick up these electromagnetic occurrences. How did they detect the lines? Okay. Like I said, they use dowsing rods in the beginning. The same method as and usually dowsers, you look for water, underground springs and things like that to find well water, and they actually work, which is very uncanny. I've never seen one in action, except when we went on our thing, and what's his name, Will's brother, had one, and he would ask questions, and they would, how did they work?
We would ask questions, and the spirit would communicate through them. Now, I don't know if the spirit's energy touched them and made them move,
The lines are
or if it
electromagnetic,
was
yes.
the actual spirit themselves moving them, and we couldn't see them in front of us. I did feel pretty weird on some of the times. I got very cold 2 times. I was sweating. I am less skeptic of them.
Well, I would be too, in seeing, people finding water. Even modern technology still use people dowsing rods to find water in wells, underground springs and whatnot. So they are, recognized as a method to do that.
Yeah.
Now, what I understand is most anybody can do it, but not everybody is tuned in to do it. You have to be tuned into it.
Yeah,
okay?
you gotta...
which is like anything else. To be tuned in, you have to concentrate. You have to be a conductor yourself. You have to get that magical energy, as they called it. They're once called them mana lines. Sometimes they're force lines. Electromagnetic. Yes, they very much are. They have been mapped out. You can go online and pick up, say, ley line maps, and all across the globe they have the lines crossing the globe. I'm trying to figure out the ones on the eastern coasts of U.S. here. There's a lot more out in the west and a lot more in North America.
Bronx.
I mean,
right on the edge of Manhattan.
Well, I understand, like in Ohio, where they have the Serpent Mounds,
yeah.
which, if anybody's heard of, that's supposed to be a place where they cross too. Now, when they do crisscross, usually there's 3 of them. When three of them intersect, that's called the crossroads.
The White House is supposed to be where they cross.
It might be a lot of churches, a lot of cathedrals are built on them. Of course,
Lincoln's statue.
A lot of churches and cathedrals were built over in Europe and in England over pagan sites too, who already mapped these lines. Like I said, the Romans, when they had their roads, they would follow these ley lines, okay, to make their roads.
Now, are ley lines positive energy or negative?
They can be both.
Okay. Because I was told they can be negative.
They can be positive or negative. What do you see?
Oh, I thought I heard your cat banging.
Oh, well, no, that's us thumping. Now, they can be positive and negative, and how you use them, if you want to use them in magical force. I can get into that aspect. The ancient goddess Hecate was supposed to be the goddess of the crossroads. Whenever witches, if you want to call it, they get together, if they find a crossroads where these lines crisscross, can you detect them with an EMF meter?
Yes.
Yes, I'm pretty sure you could.
Yes, you can.
And now they have...
K2 or Gauss meter will detect the magnetic fields in the ley lines.
Right, and that's where they would be. That's how we find them. And you could trace them. If they run in a straight line, then you know if that meter stays straight, if it's a straight line. They always have to be straight. They don't curve.
Well, I've had that a lot of times around here, out in about 15 minutes away from here. The Gauss meters will go in certain line patterns. They won't cross each other, but...
No, but you can see where they will cross, because then it will pick up. You see?
Yeah.
Where they crisscross is where you get more force and energy.
Yeah.
Okay? But to find one and douse one, if you pick up an electromagnetic current and it stays the same reading in a straight line, like I say, they don't curve or anything, but they do crisscross each other. They're all straight lines.
So they won't go around something? Or
no, they don't bend. They don't bend like our roads and highways do.
Oh.
Okay?
So if somebody built a mall, it would just go right through the middle of the mall.
If there is a line running through there.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, positive and negative, if there's negative forces that are drawn upon it, you can bring out the negative of it. You can actually darken a ley line, if you want to use it for spell work or something like that. But most people use it for positive means. I mean,
so can you use them for portals to transport yourself to another ley line?
No, you just
So
follow the ley line.
The Egyptians might have used it.
The ley lines, even from what they understand, they cross under the ocean too. I mean, they go around the whole world. Sorry, I fell asleep. Okay, Shorty. We did too. I mean, sometimes they will encircle the globe, okay, and crisscross that way. If because the globe is sort of round, right? It's going to be round in itself, but they actually are straight. I mean, everything that's connected. I mean, they found in Easter Isle and all those things follow a circle within the circle of the straight lines.
Yeah.
Okay, the same things in South America with Machu Picchu.
Stonehenge.
Well, that's in England. Stonehenge, like I said, is
the
big
Mayans
one.
had their temples built on.
That's right, too.
Machu Picchu is one of the biggest places in the world.
And
one
it's
of
way
them,
up there.
well, one of them, besides the Sphinx
It's one of the nights.
and Stonehenge, that will actually have all of your paranormal equipment act up.
Well, there's a lot of electromagnetic activity.
Yeah, there's something about that area.
Well, I also understand with that too. It's kind of a recording device too. It sort of remembers history.
Yes.
Okay, in a sense, what causes the Earth itself. I mean, the Earth itself is a big magnet. It's a big electromagnet. I mean, we got the north and south poles, and they're like the positive and negative poles on a magnet, not a maggot. Yeah, maggots are a whole different story.
What causes an electromagnetic field? Energy, magnetism. From
the gravity and everything, and the world spinning and all that stuff.
Magnetism, spiritual essence from the earth. We haven't gotten too much into that, but they could cause...
The earth is a living being.
Yes, it is.
I mean, that's why the ancients called it Gaia, the Mother Earth. I mean, it was a living being, and the ancients believed they should take care of it. We are just now coming around to that thing. We are the stewards of this earth, but we haven't been taking care of it. We're just now getting to recognize it.
Well, I take care of it. I don't go down chopping down trees when I could use plastic.
You don't chop down rainforests. You don't litter.
My
litter everywhere.
Is this: why do we have wooden houses when we could have been building with plastics? And there's more metal sitting in that junkyard we could recycle.
I'd rather have a wooden, like a log cabin, than actually they were starting. In commercial construction, which I was in for a couple of years, they build with metal. And then plasterboard too. Instead of wood studs, they use metal studs. They could do that. It's cheaper, and it works just as well because the plaster and everything keeps it sturdy. But whatever. That's another topic. We're going off topic. My Stonehenge sense is tingling. The stoner guy, no wonder. Okay, are you stoned now? We have stone houses here. Yeah, stone I think is one of the best. It's the most.
No, but you can't recycle stone.
No, but it lasts
long. You can take a log cabin apart.
I mean, if you want to think of something...
straighten up the wood, clean it up, and you could rebuild another log cabin. Stone,
if you want to think of what's on Earth that's eternal? Stone.
Yes. Okay. Castles were made out of stone, and they're still standing.
Yeah, they fall apart with neglect over time. Yeah, well, the thing is we now use a mortar and cement, whereas in the olden times, you look at the pyramids, they didn't use any mortar. They were just perfect placements.
Yes, they did.
And
some parts they did.
Well, they might have. I don't know on the capstone part, maybe. But the capstone's been missing for years,
I don't think there was a capstone on
it. They said it was golden. Open. They said it was a gold gilded capstone.
Well, yeah, that's
pure gold capstone.
That was for piloting light and vibrational purposes and.
Well, we always recognize that one of the purposes of the pyramids
electricity
was for astrological things.
Yes.
Astronomical, and they could, tell the different times of the year and when this going to have an eclipse or things like that. The same thing with the temples in the Mayan culture.
Yeah.
They used it for other things too, but that was one of their purposes. What is it about remove the cement? See, the problem is with mortar is it rots. It eats away itself unless you replace it. It doesn't last as long. But the second oldest thing on Earth,
they were bound by mortar, mud, and clay.
Yeah. What, the pyramids?
The old ones, yeah. Like the one in the picture over here. However, it's not like
but
it
they
was
were
today.
perfect
They didn't
placement.
lay it.
You can't even...
Yeah, but they didn't lay it like they did today. They would lay it down and then put the rock over it, and you would not see it smudge out the sides.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to
It was
scrape
more
it like
like
we do
model
mortar
wood,
now. Yeah.
Now today's ones is you can see where they smudge out the sides.
Yeah,
you
that's
can see where they
straw
placed.
and mud for mortar. That's in later years. I mean,
Yeah.
and like for stuff like that, that came later. But if you
But that's also to keep animals away.
but
The straw and the mortar would keep the animals away from it, from the bugs eating the bodies. And
I mean, we're talking about ancient people who built with just stone and perfect placement and that sort of thing, and they're sturdy and they
And
last.
this thing, today we need
Yeah.
like 2 cranes to pick up what they did in about a day. It takes 2 cranes to do in a week.
Well, they do a lot more. They still don't know how.
But they weren't
They
lazy.
accomplished
They
it.
didn't take a coffee
They
break.
said it
after
took them
an
100
hour.
years to build the damn pyramids or something like that. Well,
But they weren't
how
lazy.
feasible is that?
They weren't lazy. They didn't take a coffee break after an hour.
Well, they had breaks.
Yeah, at the end of the day when they went home.
Actually, I understood that they paid them very well. They took
Yeah.
care of them. They weren't slaves per se.
Well, back then they were not slaves.
They were slave. What do you call it? Wage labor. Put it that way. But they
Well,
fed
they
them.
were slaves in the sense that they could not leave.
Right.
But they were not slaves in the sense that they abused and
Well, I mean, you
mistreated
see
them
the
and
movies where
tortured
they
them.
whipped them and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's all just bullshit. From,
Yeah.
From what I understand from real stories, saying they didn't mistreat their slaves or their workers because
Well,
they needed them.
The
They needed them
Egyptians
too
also
much.
respected the fact that if you were a warrior from
Especially
another
the
nation,
Egyptians.
if you were a warrior from another nation, obviously you have talents that they may not have.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Now, another aspect of ley lines is particularly outdoor hauntings. It is connected, okay? The outdoor hauntings will follow a ley path because they are attracted to the electromagnetic thing as well. And when we use a dowsing rod, say for ghost hunting, we're using
could it be a portal? Could the magnetic
it's-
interface make a portal for a release?
It's quite, I have to look into that aspect of it because I would say that it's probable or likely.
Because most hauntings that are related to ley lines are not regular hauntings. They're very unique.
Yeah.
And the fact that the spirit is different than the rest, or the thing that haunts the place is something that is there because of maybe it's on a ley line, not because of something happening.
Yeah. I mean, you could find almost any sacred place in this world, and they'll be on a ley line or crisscrossed with a ley line.
Yeah.
In the Americas, they just simply call them the white ways or the spirit ways, spirit paths.
Yeah.
Spirit lines. Archaeological evidence has already found this out because they had road systems in the Americas. Okay, and they always traveled straight roads. And then when they would settle in places that were conducive to their spiritual energy.
Oh yeah, they didn't have what they had today where, your community, let's say you were in New York City, you did not go away from New York City. Your area and your city and your village supplied you with everything you needed. No one bought overseas or anything. They kept everything in their neighborhood. A lot of what we see today is people moving outside the area, people creating new things, new roads, to say. Now, here's another question about these roads. Could it break?
Can you break a line?
Could the line keep going?
No,
all of a
because it's
sudden it's just not there anymore.
No, it's electromagnetic. You can't break that. This is a permanent. These are permanent grids and lines on around the globe. Okay, they can't break.
Could they dissolve themselves? The magnetism leave?
The only thing I think that would do that might change them if our Earth axis tilted or something like that.
Well, it has.
I mean, the wrong way. I mean, it's on a tilt now.
No, I meant it's tilted. It's about, what, 10 degrees from what it was
I know it's not supposed
when
to
the
do this.
Egyptians were built. It's started to...
Well, you know, everything settles. I mean, you know, any building settles into the ground.
Yeah.
But that it might be off a couple of degrees, but it's not going to be off that much, you know, from the settling.
Welcome, Wrinkly. Welcome, Irish Leo. Welcome, one.
Is anybody
Ross.
following us about this ley line, or should we just give up on this topic?
Prophet. Welcome. We have some new visitors this week. And we're in studio number 2 this time. Giving studio number 1 a break and an overhaul.
Okay, to reiterate what a ley line is there points of power or lines of energy on the Earth, and there's a relationship between these points.
They mentioned them on the Dresden Files. I have no idea.
Oh, the Dresden Files was on the Sci-Fi Channel. It was a pretty good show, actually. And it didn't last long, though, because it got a little hokey after a while.
Like hokey as in what? Like,
well,
mating spirits with the paranormal world?
he was sensitive, and he was a wizard, supposedly, Dresden. And he was battling all these spirits and whatnot, evil spirits, and he was hooked up with the police department, but on the slide with this one woman detective. You know, they always have to do that.
So it's kind of like the X-Files.
Okay. This guy, somebody asked this before. Do ghosts have sex with each other? I'm doubtful. Very doubtful.
I don't think I'm going to answer that question. We told you before that demons and incubus and succubus and demons.
But they're talking about
but the spirit of the human.
Two ghosts in the same location, would they have sex? They probably don't even know they're even.
Well, a ghost is a spirit of a human being, and
they might still have that urge, but I doubt if they, you know.
Well, I don't even know if they do that. I mean, we're talking different forces here. You might be mistaken.
We're really off the topic now.
Yeah, an incubus and a succubus with a spirit. They're not the same thing. Do not mix them up. Do not get them confused. No, Cass. You know the answers to this. Ghosts cannot. They can.
Fat ghosts. Well, if you were fat in life and you left your image behind, or you came out, you would be fat there too.
Yeah, that's
I mean, you know, I'm fat. I mean, I expect I'll be a fat ghost if I'm a ghost.
I mean, if the spirit was to touch somebody or do some act to somebody,
they actually can.
I don't think it would be a spirit. It would be a demonic force.
Spirits have a hard time communicating with us.
Yeah.
Okay, there have been times when they would touch your shoulder or something like that. It takes a lot of energy to do that. And
well, we're talking acts of indecency. Would be a demonic spirit.
Now, if you want to get into
anything, what happens if it was to pick up a chair and heave it at you or something? That would be a poltergeist and demonic activity. A poltergeist is not.
Why do
spirit.
ghosts have clothes though? Well, because they were buried in clothes. They lived in clothes. I mean, you know, people are used to wearing clothes. That's why they're, you know, are there naked ghosts? There might be if he died naked. I don't know. You know.
Well, see, that's another thing. Somebody could die naked and they come back wearing clothes.
Well, because
they've come back naked.
It's like anything else.
That's a very good question here. They've died with clothes on and they've come back naked. Or a woman would have died in, you know, a nightgown or something, and she would have come back in a dress.
Well, that's typical. You see,
there's a lot of stories. When she was a teenager.
You know, that's whatever their most usual favorite clothing was, maybe.
Will had mentioned that maybe it is what they remember. Do they remember wearing the dress back in high school, and that's what the spirit has evolved in? Now, do they change their appearance? I don't know. I mean, today could a man wear a suit? Tomorrow he wears, shorts? We
if,
haven't.
if a girl was a stripper, maybe her ghost remains that way.
Maybe.
Doubtful.
We're not sure.
I mean, how can we answer that?
I mean,
there's
I've never
evidence
seen a
of ghosts
stripper
wearing
ghost,
gowns, you know, and
but
night
they
shirts
never
and,
wore that kind of gown in life.
Right.
Or we have ghost stories where some guy was killed in a suit, and the same exact person has come back in work clothes, like overalls.
Now I understand that this is just something I've seen and heard and read someplace, that if you were to go to heaven, say, let's say,
if you do go to heaven,
if you do, they appear there first naked, like they were in the Garden of Eden. You know, you were naked.
Well, I've always been taught.
But we're so fond of and so used to wearing clothes.
I've always been.
Oh, come on now! Wake up! Jerry is back. That's a really stupid question. Designer clothes, you know.
What I've always been taught is that maybe in front of God you will be robed in a white robe.
Well,
I've not. I and Will have thought about it many times. We've had cases.
It's not a matter, Ed. It's not a matter of what a cool leather jacket you decide. It's what you're most comfortable. What you like. I live in jeans and a t-shirt most of the time. Probably that's what I'll be wearing.
But then again, you may come back in a suit.
Doubtful. Why would I be in the suit? I don't.
Nobody knows. Nobody.
Only time I wear a suit is at weddings and funerals. I mean, come on.
Well, maybe.
Who is tonight's guest? Me. My name is Mike.
He's not really a guest. He's one of our team members, investigation team member.
Well, I am a guest.
Will is visiting family, and I asked Mike if he wanted to help, and we're in studio number 2, so.
Okay,
Mike owns
wake up, Jerry.
I'm
going to answer this. To go see, they will go through the motions of what they're used to. Okay,
yeah.
If it's pertinent.
Now, if you're saying eating, as in like they're eating at the kitchen table and then they're
they
not
might
there
think
anymore,
they might think there's food there, but they're not really.
If you're thinking they're going to stop off at McDonald's before they come over to your house to haunt it, absolutely not.
No, I mean it's a silly question. I mean, think about it.
Well, maybe it's not silly.
If it's part of your habit, let's say a residual.
Yes.
Is going to.
Every day you see them sitting at the table eating, and then at noon.
But it's when you see it, you may not see actually any food there, but it might think there's food there because it still doesn't know it's dead.
Well, we've heard of people keeling over while eating, and the spirit is seen eating every day at the dining room table at a certain time.
Ed, you're being funny. Maybe they do eat. Sometimes the food in my fridge goes missing.
Well, blame it on wife or something, no?
Hey, stuff in my refrigerator gets lost in the back, and then it goes rotten, and it might diminish that way. Smelly
Maybe
stuff.
The cat gets into it.
You're being asked, Wade?
No.
Question.
What?
Maybe a little alcoholic also. Okay.
Well, we know where that goes. That comes over to me.
Well, if you're drunk, you don't know where anything goes. I mean, and I don't drink hardly, and yet I miss things all the time. That's because I'm dimwit.
Things come up missing in my house.
I'm just I've lost half my brain cells. I mean, whatever. Can ghost age? No, they are at the age they believe they are. Where's his area in New York?
Oh.
Irish Leo.
It's a girl.
A girl. Where's her place?
Why would a boy be calling me Snuggle Bunny?
Oh, okay.
That's pretty weird. If that's a boy, that's sick.
Okay, we've swayed off the topic of ley lines. I guess that bored everybody, right?
What's my opinion on the spirit box? We've used one before.
Yeah, well, the last time we used it was the only convincing time I believed in it. However, I'm still not totally convinced by it.
I'm still not totally convinced. You have to know what you're doing. I went through and I know all the radio stations. I know what time they do sports and everything. I know how the frequencies work.
Can ghosts die?
Can a ghost die?
I've
heard of that. No, I've heard of a spirit dying.
Well, if they were killed or something like that, or they died, they might reenact that.
What happened was, They said that the ghost actually died in their house. The third half of the show.
Okay, Jesus loves you. Okay, like I said, you know, I don't want to get into no proselytizing, no any of that stuff. You know, if Jesus loves you, that's fine. If you think
He
does,
loves you
fine.
too.
You know, but you know that's not the point of our show. We're not. You know. What do you keep doing this for?
Thank you. Anybody wants to join my Facebook?
Oh, Ed, that's that guy who has his own show too, right?
Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's been with us since, what, this third week we did the show, the second month? That's my Facebook. If anybody wants to join the Facebook, I'll be glad to have their friends. Keep in touch. What is it?
Dr. Diva, how do conspiracy theories and paranormal intersect? Oh, many ways.
Well, it depends on which one you're talking about. UFOs, ghosts, some murders that have happened, Men in Black.
Assassinations.
Paranormal means anything that's not normal. So if it's
that's
not
right.
normal in the
I call
science
this show
community,
the para-abnormal show.
yeah. I love
Abnormal.
conspiracies because when you solve the mysteries behind them, to me they're great mysteries to solve. They're great facts. Some of them are things that could protect us, like cloud seeding, and the government trying to put stuff in our food that could, you know, knowing this information could save lives and protect us.
Many paranormal
Other things of
would
ghosts,
come under that.
UFOs and stuff, the government hiding alien life.
What did they call that? If
That
you go in
could,
the bookstore,
that could help us with our history, and it could change our history.
They call conspiracy. What's the term for it? It's conjecture.
Conspiracies.
No, there's a label for it. You can go in the bookstore. It's,
I don't know. New Age.
No, that's a separate section, but it's in the same area usually. Yeah, I mean, like you said, many paranormal things that have to do with the.
It helped prove what we do a little bit better.
Yeah, I also don't like the word supernatural. You know, to me, everything is natural. Paranormal works because it's beyond what we're accustomed to. Okay, it's beyond our understanding.
It's just something, yeah, that we do not understand in the science community. A conspiracy is something that they're hiding. They're trying to manipulate. I don't like anybody to hide and manipulate stuff.
On what it is.
Well,
I mean,
government agencies,
if the government's hiding something to do
private
with
agencies.
UFOs would fall under paranormal in a sense, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, we want to know alien life is paranormal.
I mean, it's beyond our scope.
Like for Bigfoot.
Right,
they say
Dr.
the government's
Diva,
hiding.
beyond our understanding, yes.
They say the government's hiding the fact that Bigfoot exists. Well, that's something I want to know, so.
Well, that's why we investigate to see
yeah.
if they do exist. Like I said, I belonged to MUFON for a little while, and I mean, we went nowhere. I mean, I got nothing. I got, you know, and we get, even with our ghost hunting, we get very, I mean, they say, oh, we got tons of evidence, but to me, these are small evidence. I want to see something with my own
eyes. Now, this
eyes.
is a very good question. Would we agree that most conspiracy theories appeal to a gap in our knowledge, and many are more jumps in logic? Yes, some of them are just things brought up that we can explain, and people, like Area 51 is a private firm, just like Lockheed Martin, just like Skunk Works Manufacturing.
Well, you look at secret societies too. I mean, you know, they keep themselves secret because they have conspiracies going.
Well, the fact is that they don't want us to know is because it's really none of our business.
Well,
another thing is with secret societies, it's a group of people getting together.
Well, I could talk about secret societies. I'm well versed in them.
You know, a lot of people say, oh, well, these guys do this and these guys do this because they don't understand what they do. I and Mike could tell you, well, later we're doing something that's a secret. Well, we could go to Walmart, and you guys would say because it's a secret, it's you know, a conspiracy. Well, it's not. We just don't feel like telling you.
Where's the proof? That's the problem.
Well, yes, that's the big question. Where's the proof?
I mean, where's the proof in God? I mean, you can't prove it either way.
I can.
You know, well, come on, that's personal belief.
Well, you know me. I can.
You know, you're talking about personal belief
stuff. Yeah.
Okay, that's a different story.
Jumping to conclusions to the worst.
Is worse once you have the eye and the microscope, you get to see the big picture. Right. Hopefully, that's another reason when we die that we'll get to see the bigger picture.
What makes the wind blow? Currents of gravitational thrusting. Yes.
Well, not only that, the Earth revolves.
Yeah.
So you're going to have wind, you know?
Well, it's caused by the gravity pulling down. Magnetic force pressuring is causing a wind.
Yeah, that's why we have the weather the way it is.
Yes.
And the wind currents, which they call, like, the
if you can't see it, does it mean it's real?
It isn't real. Oh, no, if you can't see it, doesn't...
Well, I can't see money in my wallet, but I know it's real.
Yeah, well, if we want to get into reality and what that is, or if it's illusion, that's a whole other topic.
What happens if today Mike isn't imagining me here because he's bored? So therefore I am...
You could all be imagining us here. We could be imagining we're talking to letters on the thing.
Yes.
You know, we're not talking to people.
Here's one big question that I've asked for a long time.
Black hole. I will try, if I'm on again, I will try to explain the black hole better.
Who is imagining who? Am I imagining you?
Well, it's...
Or are you imagining me?
Well, see, it's those are
paradoxes
and conundrums.
Do you think something? In other words, you think you have to write, so you want a pen. So therefore, a pen exists for you to write. Yeah. Or you want to go to the store, so therefore a car exists.
I mean, if you want to go Descartes and say, I think, therefore I am, well, animals think. They may not think in the same capacity we do, but some people would argue that either. You know, they have a language. With the kind of. I mean, they can.
I mean, saying meow and barking is not a language.
No, but you can. I mean, having pets, you can discern what they're trying to tell you.
And we can communicate in its intelligence, because I can communicate with your cat. He can communicate with me.
If you want to get into
two different worlds.
If you want to get into life itself, even plants react. Yes. If you light a match near a plant, it'll back away. Okay. It has some kind of feeling, some kind of...
If you ask a plant a question, it will react. Its leaves will turn. It'll react to your question.
I don't know that far, but I do know you can photograph an aura of a tree or a plant as much as you can. Anything that has living life force.
They say plants are smarter than us.
Well, I mean...
They say that plants are smarter than us.
Look at trees for the most part. Trees are the most what's the word I'm looking for? Live the longest of almost anything.
Yeah.
So
and all they do is stand there too.
Yeah, that's what we think.
Maybe that's the secret. Well, I've never seen a tree move, although I've never been in the woods.
Well, until the hurricane comes or something.
Well, how do you know the tree doesn't move? You ever circled it with paint?
If a tree falls in the forest, do you know it? You know, would you hear it?
Does it make a noise? Of course, it makes a noise.
What about harp, Mike? Oh, hey, people talked about you. Everybody brings that question up every time I see your show.
Yes, we discussed that last week. Harp is a electric study of the atmosphere located in Alaska and other countries. It does exist.
Well, you know, many conspiracy theories and documentaries.
What is that? I'm not a big conspiracy person. Well,
because of lack of experts. Well, you know, who can really be an expert in something you can't explain and you can't find out? You can investigate. I've investigated certain secret societies, and I do know some. Well, they do exist. You know, how much control and what they can do, I'm not going to get into because that's personal. But investigator, yes, we're investigators. We're not experts. That has to be understood. I'm not a parapsychologist. I'm an amateur parapsychologist. You know,
we all are.
I mean, we all are. I mean, to be, as I said way before, to be an actual psychologist, you have to be a psychologist first, a parapsychologist, and then branch off into that field to study it in a scientific. But we're trying to do it from a scientific point of view too. But all our evidence and whatnot, no matter how much scientific we try to do it, you still can't prove it. You know, I need to see some hard evidence. I mean, hearing a voice on a tape recorder or something. I want to hear it with my ears. I want to see something with my eyes. Seeing is
You wouldn't be
believing.
afraid if you did?
I've already seen things, so I'm not going to go there. Actually, I'd welcome it. I would love to live. If this place was haunted, I would have a ball with it if I could communicate with it. You know.
So
or if it can communicate with me. Or else said you can't be an expert on what you don't know. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, however, we could be well versed in what we do know.
Well, I never want to become an expert because then you know it all.
Well, you're an expert.
An expert means you can't learn
there are
anymore
people
because you know it already. I want to be somebody that can learn
let's
something
say a doctor,
new.
a surgeon, he may be an expert as a surgeon, but there's always new procedures he has to keep learning.
I hope
too.
he's an expert, or he ain't operating on me.
Well, but the point I'm making is, even as an expert, he has to continue to learn. You know, new procedures, this and that sort of thing.
Also, are you expecting to hear things like when you investigate what? When do you believe that you hear things that don't happen?
Okay. Kit Kat's going to be out for a while. I'm leaving the territory to go.
We believe that we can hear things that don't happen. No.
Am I really feeling?
Well, an expert is somebody that knows it all. I don't want to be that somebody. I want to be somebody that learns. I want to be somebody that can take new knowledge and use it.
To its ultimate ends, yeah.
Did you wash your hands?
No. I don't touch myself. I just stick it out.
That's nice.
I don't touch myself. But I'll use this germ thing.
Wherever he goes, I make him wash his hands because I'm allergic to cats.
Expert is a misnomer. There are no real experts. Now, up to a point. They I don't know what you would call them up to a point. Like I said, a surgeon maybe who's his job really well, but even then, like I said, there's always something new to learn. So you can't, you can't be a total expert on any particular thing.
Well, like I said, experts know it all. I don't want to be somebody like that. I want to be somebody who's constantly learning.
But to be an expert on the unexplained, radio, sound waves, gadgets, but to be an expert on the unexplained, well, we don't call ourselves experts. I mean, when have you ever heard us anybody call themselves an expert as far as that goes? We're investigators. We want to know what's what. We hope to find out. We may never find out, for sure. We may never find out until we die, and even then we may not find out. So, I mean,
Right, any more questions?
We still got 40 minutes. What is it? Since conspiracies are generally about what we don't know, it seems that most will go unsolved until death.
Yes.
Well, depends on the conspiracy. Some have been broken open.
Yeah.
And
well, once it's broken over, it's considered to be facts.
They've been investigated and exposed. Put it that way.
Well, it's not conspiracy.
I mean, the KKK is a secret society, and they've been exposed. Okay,
but it's not a conspiracy.
We don't know who's exactly in it, but all the time.
The definition of a conspiracy is something that is alleged to have happened, alleged to be happening, that needs to be investigated.
And it can be. And you can discover
once you make it so that the conspiracy is not a conspiracy, then it turns into facts. Then it turns into things that are happening. Then we need to take action if it's appropriate. That's why you keep investigating. There's a difference between alleged happening conspiracy or facts that did happen, we need to act. Well, for instance, let's say the Area 51 conspiracy. They said for years, well, there's something in the desert. They test plane. Well, they now know it's real. It's a fact they do it.
Okay.
The conspiracy is, what are they actually testing and using it for? Are they spending millions of dollars of the American money, taxpayers' money, on drones to spy on us, which are taking away our rights?
Okay, I've heard about Princess Diana. There's conspiracy theory.
If they
going
are
on there.
taking away our rights with these drones, then we need to act because our rights need to
Supposedly,
be...
I heard one conspiracy theory about Princess Diana is they made them crash with some kind of sound device. That was one theory, okay? What are your views on the official U.S. 9/11 story? I have mixed views on that one. From a lot of things I've read and seen on video, there might be something to it. And then there, you know... And whoever caused it, whoever didn't do anything about it, even knowing about it, is a terrible shame.
Well, Bush was in the safest place he could have been in when it happened. That's why he didn't get up and move. I'll tell people that right now.
He wasn't even that stunned.
Hang on. He was in the safest place he could have been. He was in a school surrounded by security guards, and nothing could have happened to the president. The vice president was the one that was in serious danger.
Okay, because Princess Diana was pregnant by a Muslim. Well, how do you know that? I mean, who's finding this out?
Well,
back up your, you know, it's like, is it a credible source, you know?
Well,
or are you looking at the National Enquirer?
They said that she
not
did have a
source.
miscarriage from somebody when she was married to Charles.
Oh.
Which I don't know that story either.
But that's none of our business.
But then again, the tabloids would say anything to make somebody look good or bad.
Yeah. But you
They
see,
could say Mike here is pregnant just to make him look good for us.
I am pregnant, but
they, you know,
my baby doesn't want to come out though.
What story in Princess Diana's story are we looking at? Are we looking at the fact that the father of the man she was supposed to be with is suing them because they covered it up? Okay, fine, that's true. If they covered it up...
But why is it our business? Why do we care?
I don't
you know, it's not my business. That's their personal problem.
But I'm explaining it to them what it is.
Yeah.
If they covered it up, that means they did not do their job. Then that means that they're not doing their job for one case. They could not be doing it for another case, and that's not serving the community right.
Okay.
However, like Mike said, we may know the answers no matter what we do.
And it doesn't matter because it's not really important to us. I mean, really, is it? I mean, you know, we follow more celebrities than we do actual happenings a lot of times.
What's the most dramatic, important thing you found out in your investigations?
So far, for me, not a lot.
Evidence.
Well, evidence, but it's still not a lot.
I've seen evidence with my eyes. I've seen evidence in camera and photos.
I'm doing this because I've had other experiences personally. And this is why I'm doing this. I have not yet in our things come across anything that's really totally convincing to me. Some of it, yes. Kind of maybe.
And when total convincing, you don't mean you're going to go to the university and say, we got a ghost now, right?
Right.
I mean, sometimes you've said that you believe it's real and believe that there's evidence there and that something was haunted. But he's just like me. I look at it as with a skeptic view. I'm not going to run out and say, hey, look at this. I would like to know more information. I use it for study aid. I've seen some things where I would run out and say, hey, this is evidence of a spirit.
Okay.
This is evidence of an alien.
My personal experience, okay, the one thing that kind of convinced me, and I've had other experiences prior to this, that I'm not quite sure what they were. However, this one thing is when my mother died, and I would tell this part of the story, I saw an apparition of her the night she died without knowing that she died till the next day. At approximately the same time she was declared as having died. So I thought that was, I mean, I might have saw her for maybe 15-20 seconds at the longest. She didn't wave to me, she didn't say anything, she didn't smile, she just appeared out of nowhere, and I don't know why. And then the next day when I went to work, I got a call and said my mother died during the night. Okay, but she came to sort of as her way of goodbye. I don't know, she was visiting all her family or something. But I happened to be awake and I saw her. Now that was probably the most I want to know. What happens after life? I mean, after this life. I mean, we can go into the whole idea about, and that's a good topic for another show, which is what I was going to lead into in another one, about reincarnation, going to heaven or hell, or what is the afterlife? What? And do you think God be involved in any of this? Well, I don't think so.
Yes.
You might think so, but I don't think so. You know why? Okay. You may pray. I may meditate. I may think on those terms, kind of like prayer, okay? And do ritual and blessings and stuff like that. That power is powerful in itself. You could be praying to a God. You could be praying to, like, George, I hate to bring up George Carlin, to Joe Pesci, and get the same amount of answers, 50-50 chance, that it's going to work out. I think the God that...
Joe Pesci, all things are possible.
You have to see that. It's hilarious.
To pray to Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci can solve your problems. He can...
Yeah,
I've seen that.
You saw that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the problem I have with... I believe there is a God, but beyond the God of people who consider in the Bible. Okay? He's not, I know I'm going to offend somebody, but he's not some guy with a big white beard sitting on the throne in the clouds up in the sky. No. I think the God that created everything is part of us. Okay? We're all part of God. It's kind of like, in simplistic terms, God split himself up into his creation.
Yeah.
So therefore, we can't really converse with God. We can converse with our own souls.
Okay.
We can converse with each other, spiritually, or however you want to say it. But as far as conversing with God, the only way God has intervened in my life is he never really has. But I've had people who have intervened in my life and done me very well as very bad. Now, would I attribute that to God? I don't know. I'm not questioning the existence of God. I'm questioning, are you like a pantheist? I'm a panentheist. It's a little bit different. It means I believe God is in everything. A pantheist means you believe in different types of gods, all kinds of gods.
We're starting to wrap up.
Okay.
Look at the time. All right, folks. Is there any more questions? We're going to wrap it up.
Well, it's 8:30.
It's 8:30.
Yeah.
One more.
Oh, for a little bit more. I'll get my second win. The Bible doesn't put forward that idea of God. In the Bible, God is immaterial, not a physical man. Well, okay, I would agree with that in the Bible. Okay, but how do you put it? We're supposedly, according to the Bible, we're made in God's image. Okay, but if everything living is in God's image, what is God's image? Is it a man? Is it a physical? Is it anthropomorphic?
Image as in his goodness, his lightness, his well-being.
In those kind of tangible,
not like, God is
types
a
things.
Purple man with a green beard dancing with a hula hoop, and then we have everybody look like
there's a lot of people who believe in the goddess came first. I could go.
And his image means of his goodness, his sovereignty.
I think what we call God are like second in command. And that sort of thing. The pagans, I don't particularly believe in the pagan sense that
gods and
goddesses are real.
God did not make woman. We made woman. Women was made from us.
I see. I don't believe that too. From
first.
my researches, I found it differently. And that was one of the things that's been suppressed. No, there's other things that have been suppressed. Okay, I won't go into it because that would take 3 or 4 hours to,
Yeah.
I'm a pantheist. I'm a panentheist, which is a little different than pantheist. A pantheist means you basically believe, not necessarily. A pantheist is, is kind of like everything is in God too. Sort of nature, that sort of thing. God is in everything, that sort of belief. I'm not a polytheist, even though most pagans are. I do see the gods and goddesses of myth and stuff like that as archetypes. In other words, they define a certain principle, and most of the myths are moral stories of morality and stuff like that, good or bad. Well, so is the Bible. I mean, I can get into the whole concept of what a myth is. And a myth is not something that's a falsehood or a lie. It's something that was experienced as history back then.
Yeah.
You know?
And a lot of history, like I said,
has been turned into myth too.
No,
I mean,
has been erased, changed.
Well, and, you know, like
remember, the winner writes the history of the war, not
right.
the loser.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody comes in and says one thing happened, another's going to write something else.
Okay, we didn't particularly win the Vietnam War. Win is not, we abandoned it. We gave up on it. Okay, so that's going to go in the history books. That's the first time that's ever going to happen. Okay, and how they might state it in such a way that it doesn't seem like we abandoned it or anything like that. But I mean, most of the time it's the victor go the spoils, you know, and they're the ones that write the history, basically.
Well, the South never wrote the history of the Civil War. The North did. You know.
Well, typically speaking.
And it goes for a lot of stuff.
It has been changing. I mean, with our news media and everything else, we know what's going on now.
Yeah, but
to some extent.
But it goes for a lot of stuff.
Extent.
You could have a parade downtown, and whoever is in the parade is going to write their own story. They just pick the one that makes the best. Even in newspapers, you could have 8 reporters write a story.
Oh, it's all from their own perspective.
The best reporter's writing will be in the story. Now, it might not have been the truthful one, but that's the one that's picked.
Well, the one that's most sensational nowadays. We're
also, we must remember that this kind of media buys advertising. It's supported by advertising.
That's right. So it's
this kind of meeting
corporations
is entertainment.
And it goes down to who decides. The corporations decide.
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
right now. And the media is owned by corporations.
If they're entertaining you by bringing you bad news, that's all they're going to give you. They won't bring you good news. If another area in another state or country wants to hear good news, they'll bring them the good news.
Well, good news is that it's saved for the last part of a newscast.
Yeah.
You know, by the way, we have this nice, warm-hearted story to tell, you know, or something like that. But that's at the end. It's like a footnote, you know, or something like an afterthought.
And this is another thing. That's why they tell the weather at the end. So you have to wait for it. If they told the weather at the beginning, and the top story in the beginning, everybody would turn the station.
Right. Well,
same way with radio.
The radio now.
Not so my show. Please don't mark me doing this. But
radio shows now coordinate their commercials.
Yes.
Because they figured out, well, when a commercial came out on the radio, you would switch stations to hear a song. Now you don't get that so much unless you have a private radio station. You'll hear it. A song.
Well, now the same advertisements on 4 or 5 different stations.
Well, because they're all owned by one company. What's the name of the company?
Clear Channels.
Clear Channel. Yeah, that's the one that owns most all of the radios.
My view on Alex Jones is he has a wonderful show.
Who's Alex Jones?
Propagandist, conspirators radio host.
On here or on?
He's very good with his knowledge, but he can be boastful. He can be straightforward.
I think the best show, which
you have to take it with a grain of salt. However, not too salty salt.
Yeah,
he does a very good job on the show.
Good show.
Yes, Coast to Coast.
It's probably the best.
But Alex Jones does a good job of giving you facts, but making it entertaining. He'll give you facts that, yes, there is a FEMA, but he'll tell you the worst story there is about FEMA, instead of giving you a variety of different stories. But he's not bad at all. I recommend listening to his show. I am a member of Planet, his Prison Planet, whatever it is, thing he does now. They changed the name.
I don't listen to much
little
media.
Community.
I'm accused of not being current on the news, and I try.
He's the type to take a FEMA story, give you the worst case of FEMA screwing up he can find, when there's probably 16 other stories that
they did really good.
Well, they screwed up. But he's going to pick the worst
Well,
one
but
that
no,
makes... The
even
world
FEMA
blew up because FEMA did not stop hydrofracking, when really, you know, he could have done a story about FEMA not helping with flooding. Instead of making it the world blew up because of it, you know?
Well, I'm not up on